Hi beautiful ladies, welcome back to my channel. So for today's Exotical of the week, I would like to present to you Princess Angela of Liechtenstein. Princess Angela was born on February 3rd, 1958 as Angela Gisela Brown in Bocas del Toro, Panama, as the daughter of Javier Francisco Brown and Sylvia Maritza Burke. After finishing high school in New York, Angela studied fashion at Parsons School of Design, where she graduated and received the Oscar de la Renta Award for Fashion Design. She was a stylist for 3 years and created her own fashion label named A. Brown, having set up a company with partners in New York. Princess Angela eventually worked as the creative director for the fashion brand Adrian Vittadini until September 1999. In 1997, Princess Angela met Prince Maximilian of Liechtenstein at a private party in New York City, and the Principality of Liechtenstein's Information Bureau announced their forthcoming nuptials in 1999. The couple wed on January 29th, 2000, and Princess Angela wore a dress that she designed herself and a Kinski tiara, which is an heirloom kept in the House of Liechtenstein since 1870. Prince Maximilian and Princess Angela have a son named Prince Alphonse Constantin Maria of Liechtenstein, and he was born in 2001. Upon marriage, Angela became Her Serene Highness Princess Angela of Liechtenstein, Countess of Reitberg. Princess Angela is the first person of African descent to have married into a European royal family. And one of the things that I like about Princess Angela is that she very much had her own thing going on before she met Prince Maximilian, which was probably one of the things that attracted the prince to the princess. She didn't sit around waiting for a man to rescue her. She didn't think like, oh, I'm gonna go hang out at a bar and hope that a rich white man comes and rescues me and like turns my life around for the better. No, she created her own path. She had her own success. She had her own fashion label. She was a creative director for another fashion brand. Like, she had her own thing going on. And because she was already established in these elite places in New York City, that allowed her to enter even more private spaces, which ultimately allowed her to meet Prince Maximilian. You wouldn't find someone like him, kind of hanging out at a bar or at these upscale establishments that a lot of young women go to thinking that they're going to find someone. Because he's a high profile individual, and he tries to avoid those type of places for that particular reason. Like, when you are someone of that caliber, you have to be very careful and mindful of where you go, because there's all eyes on you, and there's people who have ill intent who will try to have access to you for their own personal gain. So the prince obviously had networks outside of Europe, which is why he went to this private party in New York City. And the same was true for Princess Angela. She really established herself in the fashion industry. It is highly competitive to enter the fashion industry as a designer or creative director, but she really, made a name for herself and positioned herself well to be able to receive an invitation to a private party with, elite people that would have connections to someone like a prince of Liechtenstein. And, because she had established herself, she had a good reputation, she handled herself well. She used her background to social climb and to essentially be able to marry a prince. And so this goes into what I've spoken about in the past, about using your identity, your pretty privilege, whatever you have, to your advantage, but not only relying on your good looks to get ahead, but also being qualified. Because there's no way that the prince of a European country would be able to bring a woman to his family, let alone a Black woman to his family, if she didn't have anything going for her. And, she maybe was wealthy, maybe was not wealthy, but the fact of the matter is that she had credentials. She knew how to handle herself well. She had a good social network. She was educated. And I'm sure he didn't just, look at her and think, oh, I want someone who has an MBA like myself, or I want someone who makes X amount of money. I'm pretty sure that didn't matter to him because any amount of wealth pales in comparison to his own. He is the prince of a kingdom. He wanted to find someone who essentially would be able to navigate social settings, royal social settings, and Princess Angela fit that bill. She obviously, again, had connections to people who held private parties and invited royalty. So that means that she was able to navigate these spaces and ultimately represent him well. If you are a Black Exotical listening to this, as I've said before, you need to, number one, look good, and number two, be educated, but you also need to handle yourself with class. Because if you think that you're going to rely on your good looks alone to get ahead, you are sadly mistaken. And you will be treated like most of the social media influencers that have been disgraced over this past year by their suitors. Those suitors are only looking to have a good time, not a long time with you. So another thing to know about Princess Angela is that she did not get married until she was 42 years of age. So do not listen to these internet bros who like to scare younger women into naively marrying older men who just want to take advantage of them, who would never get a shot with older women who know better. You don't need to feel the pressure of, racing against the clock, if you will, just because you're trying to meet a social milestone of getting married before 30. Definitely take your time and become educated, travel the world if you can, learn about your surroundings, because if it is your intention to marry well, the more educated you are, and education is not just formal education, learning about just how the world works, how society functions, having social acumen, having social awareness is honestly what will get you further than what is in your head. And that's even true just in general, like people trying to navigate the job market. It is no longer about what you know, it's about who you know that will get your foot through the door. Take your time and learn, like volunteer, as I said, travel the world and see how other people live and how other people think. When you adopt a world view, it makes you a more well-rounded individual. And that is one quality that is valued in elite circles. And just the higher up that you go, whether you're in corporate, whether you're an entrepreneur, if you are trying to be around the movers and shakers, you need to be a well-rounded individual. You need to be well-spoken, well-read, well-traveled. You need to know what is happening in the world because they look for world thinkers. They look for people who are able to connect with different world views. And if you can't do that, if you only know what's happening in Blackistan, if you only know what's happening in pop culture, that's not going to take you far. And that's honestly not conversation that is appropriate for these type of social settings. So talking about what is the Drake and Kendrick Lamar beef, nobody cares. The only people who care in those circles are the people who own the record labels who are making the money. If it's not going to bring them money, they don't want to hear about it. They don't care. It's ghetto. And it's ghetto, okay? Nobody wants to hear about it. They want to hear about global affairs and how global affairs will impact trade. They want to hear about the markets. Are we going to eventually get out of this bear market and see a bull market? Do you know the difference between a bear and a bull market? They want to hear these things. They want to be around people who are like-minded and who can navigate these spaces. So yes, become educated. Do not rush. I know that like when you're in your 20s, especially your early 20s, we are very eager to kind of hit milestones, especially marriage before 30. But from what I've seen, these spaces value knowledge more than they value you achieving a milestone before 30. Princess Angela had her child a year after when she was 43. And, similar situation for Meghan Markle. She got married in her late 30s. Jeff Bezos's fiance is in her 50s. And these are all well-educated, well-connected women who took their time to learn about life and become mature so that they can be suitable partners. Okay? Let me know what you think about Princess Angela. Are there any other facts that I may not have shared in this video? Let me know, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.